Welcome to the Gloves Are Off Overtime Edition. I'm Moses Woldu, and I'm pleased to be joined by Greg Buchanan.
Hey, Moses.
My special co-host.
Special, yes.
There we go. And pleased to be joined by our special guest.
Yes,
Claire
special.
Hanna.
I got the special one in there too. Good.
Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to go to the questions right away, the ones we missed. I'm talking about Percy Harvin. You think that the Seattle Seahawks might have missed him. They gave him up for virtually nothing, a conditional pick, a mid-round pick, to the New York Jets for I think one of the best speedy receivers in the game. However, his attitude was known as an issue in Minnesota, and it seemed to flare up again with the Seahawks. Stephen Baldwin, another receiver, was not a fan of his actions, and they got into a bit of a tiff. But a lot of those players revolted. They really liked him, especially Marshawn Lynch, who was good friends with Percy Harvin. But with that said, and considering what transpired over the last few weeks and last week against St. Louis, do you feel that maybe it was a move that kind of got them distracted a little bit? Is this going to hurt them long run or long term?
You know, it's tough because, you know, I manage hockey, and a lot of times you have personalities that don't mix well together, whether it be on the playing field, on the ice, or in the dressing room. And sometimes you're worried about how it's going to disrupt the room, so you move that player out. And sometimes you create cliques, and it's very easy to have cliques in any team. And you got a feeling that there was a bit of a clique in Seattle, and Percy had his fans, and he also had his distractors. So you know what? It's tough to move a guy out like that, but it's his third team in how many years? It's
about 4 seasons, 3 seasons.
So it tells you something about his character, where they really hated him because they sent him to the Jets.
Yeah, it's sending a message. I don't know. I've played on teams where there's, I'm going to call them cancers. And sometimes you just need to get rid of those players. Seahawks had a nice start, but haven't been doing so great the last little while. So, you know, you kind of wonder if they just need to switch something up, and maybe moving him is going to change things. We'll have to see. Future will tell.
Okay, well, speaking of changing things, the NBA was experimenting last week with the Nets and Celtics, planning to reduce a minute per quarter. So instead of having your regular 48 minutes, you'd be down to 44. They want to shorten up the games. Now, one of the sports I like the most is soccer. Why? Because it's in a 2-hour time frame. You know when the game's going to start, you know when the halftime's going to come up, you know when the game's going to end, and you're sandwiched right there. So in a 2-hour time frame, that's a good attention span for a sport. Not 2.5, not approaching 3, which sometimes can get a little boring. Now, here's the thing. With this game between the Nets and Celtics, 1 hour and 58 minutes. They shaved off roughly about 15 to half hour from a regular season basketball game. Now, this is just exhibition, so, you know, timeouts, all that stuff kind of has a play into it. But do you like this rule? Is this going to be a thing that sticks, or is this just a gimmick?
Well, no, I think it's a good thing. And then one thing I say about this, and when you were talking about they're trying to trim the game, and it's not necessarily for the fans sitting in the stands. It's how you're going to sell this sport to more people out in the television market. And in people's attention span is horrendous, and you know mine's the worst. And if you have a game that you can package into a 2-hour slot, TV's going to love it. And I think that's one of the things that, as much as the NFL's loved, at the same time it's hated by television because, my God, the games run forever.
You know what? I think it's so silly. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about it, and I was reading up on the articles of what the players said on this, and they noticed a little bit of a change in the flow, but they didn't notice it so much. It made the timeouts a little better. Yeah, maybe it's better for TV. It shortens the game by 15, 30 minutes, not a big deal in the end. I don't know, it just seems silly to me to change the times by 1 minute and have such a big impact. I think keep it what it is. Having a 2-hour game, I think the fans get gypped a little bit. If I'm going to a game, I want to watch more of a game. I always fight for overtimes because I'd rather be in the stands watching a longer game.
But you also got to remember, you'd rather watch a game that's much more exciting. In these games, like you look at an actual gameplay in the NFL, it's around 10 to 12 minutes of gameplay. The rest of the time is just them with either TV timeouts or it's just them just getting in a huddle.
But regardless, at the end of a basketball game, it's always those last like 3 minutes that count. So if you're changing it from 12 to 11, it's not a big deal, but I just think, why change it at this point? One exhibition game. I think you have to see how it goes over a couple more games,
here's the thing.
especially ones that can't.
I will say this. They did the math on this. So every minute they reduce per game, which is 4, and you times that by an 82-game schedule, you're looking at reducing the schedule essentially to 7 games. Now, don't you feel that's going to be good? And the reason why I say that, because it gets to my next topic. You have LeBron James and Dirk Nowitzki, 2 prominent players in the NBA, particularly LeBron. We all know he's the name and face. He says he wants a shortened NBA season. Michael Jordan, on the other hand, who's played several 82-game schedules and has had no problem with this, also says, you know what? I like the 82-game schedule. It's perfect the way it is. I think this is fine. I think you guys are just whining a little bit.
But you're seeing it from a player's perspective, and I know Michael's a former player, but also he's also now part of a team ownership. So you're looking at this. So all of a sudden you're telling the owners, we're going to take away how many home games for you? We're going to take away this much money away from you. You don't think the owners are going to say, no, you're not?
Wait, what do they want to change it to? 82 to how many
Well,
games?
they were
Just to
saying
shorten it?
they want to reduce the games by a couple. I don't know if 10 was the schedule or what they were predicting or they were saying. So you cut down, say, 10 games. That will help on the bodies. That will alleviate something.
Yeah, so you're
I mean,
losing
no,
5 home days.
They're being
Yeah.
whiners, okay? Basketball isn't an impact sport with regards to a lot of contact. It's
Well,
not
I don't know.
NFL.
It's a physical game.
Okay, but I'm
and
just
also,
saying,
when you're jumping up and down, that's a lot of stress on your knees.
These are professional athletes, Moses. These guys train for this. They're bred to do this. This is not a big deal. Like, 82 games, I think, is a normal season. I just think they're being whiners right now, and they're complaining. They make so much money. They train so hard. They have the best physiotherapists. Suck it up and play the games.
You know, I'll start chewing on this table when they shorten the NBA schedule, because there's no way they will, but for the simple fact that it comes down to money. And it really does. You're not going to shorten the NHL schedule. You're not going to shorten the NBA schedule because the owners are going to lose money. And there's no way they're going to lose money, whether it be at their stadiums or whether it be from TV revenue. Because all of a sudden you're taking away games from the television audience and the networks that pay for it. Well, they're not going to pay the same amount of money they put. Even though it's just a little bit, it's still a lot.
I think we're missing the big picture here, and you just brought in money. Personally, I like more of it, and I would like to see those players donate to my faction in particular. You're hearing me. I'm sure LeBron's just watching. Speaking of great talent, Claire, awesome to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
And Greg, as always, my man.
Thanks,
great
Moses.
to see you next week.
I'll beat you next time.
Well, there you go. There's a rematch.
There we go.
Sooner or
Rematch is
later.
set.
All right, and thank you for joining us on the OT edition of Gloves. You can tune in every Tuesday night, 7:30 on CITL for the real deal. Plus, join us for the little special rendezvous version on the Facebook page. In the meantime, we will see you in 7 days.